Tomas the tank engine is the #1 engine on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. He's also the #1 most accident-prone engine on the railway. One day, Thomas was idling in the yard when Percy arrived with some very important news. "The Fat Controller's getting a new engine to work on Duck's branch line," he peeped. "Apparently, he's got a spotless record. He's never caused an accident or made a mess." "That's nice, but why are you telling me?" puffed Thomas. "Maybe because you're the most accident-prone engine on this railway," teased Percy. "Falling down a mine, crashing into a station master's house, or wrecking your buffers before we went to the mainland. I'm sure he could teach you a thing or two." Thomas wheezed steam indignantly. "That's rich coming from you, Percy. If I'm #1, you're definitely #2. Now go plunge again or whatever you did." And Thomas fumed away, leaving Percy brooding as well. Thomas couldn't stay in a bad mood for long. It was a beautiful day, and Annie and Clarabelle sang as he pulled them along his branch line. But it didn't last very long. As he stopped at the level crossing, he heard the chuffing of a steamroller he knew all too well. "George," he groaned. Well, if it ain't Farmer Tomash," taunted George. "You really did wonders knocking down that old barn." "That was your fault, not mine," protested Thomas. "Oh, sure," oozed George. "Word is this new engine's never had a spill. It would be my honor to change that." "Not if the Fat Controller catches you first." "Let him try. We steamrollers roll with the punches," cackled George, leaving Thomas seething. The next day, a smart red engine came coasting along the main line. He pulled elegantly into the big station. "Right on time," he smiled. Thomas was waiting at the other platform, fresh from his first train of the day. "This is Arthur," introduced the Fat Controller. "He's here to handle the goods work on the Little Western." "Nice to meet you," greeted Arthur. "You're the famous Thomas the Tank Engine." Thomas was too intimidated to bask in his pride. "You said he's a goods engine?" "Yup. Pride of the Midlands," Arthur beamed. "And you've never had an accident?" pressed Thomas. "Nope, but at least I've never caused one." Thomas was baffled. The Fat Controller cleared his throat. "I'd like you to leave your coaches and show Arthur to Brendam Docks for his first job." At the docks, Thomas banged some trucks around while Arthur stared longingly at the ocean. "I do love the sea," sighed Arthur. "I never got to see it much in the Midlands." "You'll love Duck's Line, then," Thomas muttered unenthusiastically. Since James was busy on the main line, Arthur's first job was to deliver his fruit train. The vans eyed him suspiciously. "Another red engine? How original." "At least James delivers us quickly." "A root to toe, we want to go. The fruit's going off 'cause you're too slow." Arthur cowered as the vans laughed. "How rude," he remarked. This gave Thomas a naughty idea. "The Fat Controller doesn't like it when trucks misbehave. If you push the train instead of pulling it, they'll stop singing and fall in line." Arthur smiled. "Thank you for the advice." Arthur shunted the trucks behind the brake van. The guard blew his whistle, and he set off back to the big station. "He'll never make our trucks behave," snickered Thomas. "Let's see his spotless record manage that." Arthur pushed the train cheerfully up Edward's branch line. As he went along, the vans started singing again. "Chuff, chuff, chuff, you're tough and rough, but you're so rusty you can't even puff." "Stop singing," scolded Arthur. "Trucks should do as they're told." "And what are you gonna do about it?" they taunted. To answer their question, Arthur gently bumped them. Do I make myself clear? The troublesome trucks were cross. They were now determined to teach Arthur a lesson.
Edward's branch line climbs a long gradient before reaching the main line. As a result, Arthur had to puff at full speed to keep the train moving. As they approached a red signal, the van surged ahead before Arthur could apply his brakes.
On! On! You can't catch us!
They cackled. Arthur was in a panic. He'd never dealt with a runaway train before. Stop! He cried. Meanwhile, at the level crossing outside Sudbury Junction, Duck was waiting with a small goods train to take to his branch line. As the gates closed, the all-too-familiar chuff of a steamroller came. Hurry up, George, wheezed Duck.
I'll take as long as I want,
sneered George. You've gotten me into enough trouble with Gordon. Now get lost, you rotten roller. George fumed. He stopped right in the middle of the crossing.
Your move, Great Western,
he sniffed. Just then, the sound of a guard's whistle and screeching brakes filled the air, and Arthur came careening around the bend. Before anyone could say anything else, it happened. Squashed fruit flew everywhere, but most of it landed on the engine with a now formerly spotless record. Arthur was at a loss for words. Meanwhile, back at the docks, Thomas had finished arranging his trucks when an alarm rang. There's been an accident. We need you to ring the breakdown train. An accident? Puzzled Thomas. Who crashed? The name he heard made his pupils shrink. He knew immediately whose fault it was. When Thomas arrived at the scene of the crash, the fat controller was just pulling up in his car. The impact had caused Duck to smash through the gates, toppling George onto his side. It was a terrible mess. How did this happen? The fat controller asked calmly. Arthur teared up. I don't know, sir. I'm truly sorry, sir. I was only trying to get the trucks to behave. It's all my fault. Actually, sir, Thomas winced, knowing he had to do the right thing. It's my fault. I told him to push the trucks and stop them from singing. The fat controller glared at Thomas. Then he turned back to Arthur. Well, Arthur, it's fruitless for me to say more. We'll have you cleaned up and mended as soon as possible. He turned back to Thomas. Clear up this mess first, and then we'll talk. Thomas gulped. The fat controller then turned to George. As for you, it seems I've found the culprit for all the recent chaos. I shall deal with you later. George groaned. Your move, champ, smirked Duck. Thomas cleaned up the mess as Duck towed Arthur to the works, seeing as he needed to be checked over as well. Thomas couldn't even look at him. He was too guilt-ridden. That evening, the fat controller spoke sternly to Thomas. While I appreciate that you owned up, I am disappointed. With Arthur out of action, it's only fitting that you do his work until he's repaired. Yes, sir, Thomas said sadly. Arthur's job was to deliver fish from the village on the Little Western to Knapford Harbor for the Flying Kipper. Thomas hated fish. The fat controller knew this, so it was quite the appropriate punishment. One evening, Thomas was waiting impatiently at the fishing village as the old cranes loaded the fish from the boats. Hurry up, he fussed. This smell is making me ill. As if on cue, a chain snapped and a crate of fish fell all over him. The trucks, the workers, and even his crew couldn't help but laugh. You! What a pong! Retched Thomas. Soon he was loaded and on his way. As he puffed along the headlands, he was flagged down by the lighthouse keeper. High tides have damaged the cliffs, he advised. You'd best proceed with caution. Thomas stopped shy of the washed-out tracks. His crew inspected them. It would be dangerous for a big engine like Henry, but for Thomas, it's safe enough. A guard left a warning lamp. When we get to the docks, we'll tell them to divert the kipper to the main line. Thomas puffed slowly and carefully down the rest of the line. It was dark by the time he reached the harbor, where Henry was waiting impatiently. You're late, and that smell is making me ill, the big green engine retorted. It's the fish, snapped Thomas. And I had to go slowly, there's danger on the rails. Henry rolled his eyes. Huh,
You're the only danger on the rails considering you managed to ruin the new engine's Spotless Record. Now stop whining and get your trucks hitched to my train.
Tomas was too exhausted to reply. Thunder rolled as Tomas's crew went to consult the dock manager. Before they could reach his office, the guard's whistle blew and Henry steamed out of the harbor with his long, heavy train.
I'll soon make up for lost time,
he huffed. By the time the signaler received the call, it was too late to divert Henry away from the coastal run. To make matters worse, it had started storming heavily by the time he reached the headlands.
I can't see,
complained Henry. The rain pounded the rails, washing away the sediment. Before he could say anything else, he felt the rails give way beneath him. Henry lay dazed and shaken in the surf as the waves battered his boiler. His driver and fireman swam to shore and phoned for help. The next morning, Tomas was collecting empty vans from the harbor when Henry was towed in on a barge. He couldn't help but laugh. "I thought you were supposed to deliver fish, not throw them back in the water," he teased. Henry was too sad to say anything back. The fat controller arrived with some news.
"Arthur has been repaired, but seeing as Henry is now out of action, I'll need him to do his work. Tomas, that means you're still doing Arthur's work."
Tomas's face fell as a tiny smirk spread across Henry's. Arthur did Henry's work well, and the other mainline engines were impressed. Tomas, meanwhile, sighed as the smell of fish emanated around him. "Fish! Why does it have to be fish?" he groaned. "How'd you like to go for a swim?" teased a van. "How'd you like to shut up?" snapped Tomas, and he bumped them hard.
"He really doesn't learn, does he?"
chuckled another van. Tomas said nothing more as he set off for the docks. Along the line was an old pier rail once serviced by Toby's old railway to load fishing boats. The points were so corroded and rusty that they could switch by themselves under the weight of approaching trains. As Tomas approached, the van surged into him, pushing him over the points and onto the pier. "Cinders and ashes!" he cried, and applied his brakes. But it was too late. The coupling broke and Tomas careened off the pier, making a big splash. The vans howled with laughter. "He's fallen in the water!" The guard ran back to the village to phone for help as Tomas seethed in the tidal pool. The engine who came to his rescue was the last one Tomas wanted to see. "Are you all right?" called Arthur. "I'm fine," sputtered Tomas. "Just get me out of the water and take these fish away." Arthur complied without hesitation. He shunted the breakdown train into place and hurried off with the vans. He just managed to catch the boat when he reached the harbor. That evening, Arthur took a special train to the works. Tomas and Henry were sullenly having the salt water cleaned from their smoke boxes. "Do I smell something fishy?" he chuckled. Tomas sighed. "I'm sorry I was so rude," said Tomas. "Thank you for rescuing me." "What are friends for?" said Arthur. "Friends?" puzzled Tomas. "But I ruined your Spotless Record." "It's only a record," smiled Arthur. "What's one spot anyway? We all make mistakes." Henry couldn't help but smile as well. "You smell that?" "What?" asked Tomas and Arthur.
"Fresh air,"
Henry chuckled. The three engines laughed together as the sun set. Soon, Tomas and Henry were back at work, and Arthur gleefully puffed along the coast with his fish deliveries. He couldn't be happier to embrace a nautical lifestyle on his new home, the island of Sodor. And what about George? Well, let's just say that the fat controller finally found a way to cut him down to size. Well, chortled Tomas as he and Arthur arrived at the lumber mill. How the tables have turned! "I'll be back!" growled George as his flywheel powered the saws. "As soon as I'm rolling again, you'll all have spotty records." Live and learn, honestly, grinned Arthur, but I suppose you steamrollers just have to roll with it. George seethed with rage as the two new friends chortled away. But we'd say he got what was coming to him, wouldn't we?